I taught myself how to play music, and I just stuck with it, and I did it all the time. And sooner or later, people in the neighborhood heard about me, and then they started to talk about me.
Prince Rogers Nelson was no ordinary artist. He was a musical genius, a cultural icon, and, most importantly, a rebel who refused to be controlled.
Prince blew the door open for the idea of just being yourself.
Like Paul McCartney, he can do it all. Wrote great songs, sang great songs, iconic figure visually. There wasn't really much in popular music that Prince couldn't do. He really was the whole package.
If I gotta die, I'm gonna listen to my body tonight.
In the 1990s, Prince made headlines for something beyond his music. He started appearing in public with the word slave scrawled across his face in bold black letters. Why would a globally famous musician with countless hits and a legion of fans brand himself in such a shocking way?
To change his name from Prince to the artist formerly known as Prince or the artist, and he created a love symbol.
The story behind Prince's dramatic move goes back to his early days with Warner Brothers Records, the label that signed him when he was just a teenager. Prince wasn't just another artist in their catalog, he was a prodigy who could play multiple instruments and brought a unique mix of funk, rock, and soul to the table. He had a vision and the talent to make it happen, but there was one problem. Warner Brothers wanted to control that vision, and they had a powerful weapon to do it: his contract.
Brought to the attention of Warner Brothers Records by a local Warner Brothers representative who said, we have this fantastic kid in Minnesota and you've really got to hear him. And they signed him up and they said, and we think he's so good, we're going to have him work with Maurice White. They recommended that he work with Maurice White, the recently deceased eminence of Earth, Wind and Fire.
When Prince first signed with Warner Brothers, everything seemed great. He had the label's support, he was putting out hit after hit, and his fame was skyrocketing. He was known for electrifying performances and his genre-blending sound, and the world couldn't get enough. But as time went on, Prince began to feel trapped. He wasn't just an artist, he was a businessman, and he didn't like the fact that Warner Brothers owned his music.
But Prince was in a trap. Prince was under contract to, Prince was owned, you know. Now, I can't use Purple Rain. I can't use this song. I can't sell the song Purple Rain now unless I record it again, which I have plans to do if I can't, in fact, get the master recording that I believe is one of my children, you know. So I had to get freed from the mentality of being a slave.
Every album he made belonged to the label, not to him. They controlled when his albums were released, how they were marketed, and even which songs made the final cut. At first, Prince tried to play by the rules, but as the hits kept coming, he felt like he was just feeding a machine that was never satisfied. To Warner Brothers, Prince was an incredible talent, but to Prince, they were the ones holding him back from fully realizing his vision, and that's when things started to boil over. By the early 1990s, the tension between Prince and Warner Brothers was at its peak. Prince wanted to release music at his own pace, which was much faster than what the label wanted. He was incredibly prolific, creating songs constantly, but Warner Brothers felt he was releasing too much, too quickly. They wanted to space out his albums, build anticipation, and keep his releases as big events. To them, it was about maximizing profits and protecting his commercial success. But to Prince, this was an insult to his creativity.
We had some issues that were basically about ownership of the music and how often I was supposed to record and things like that. We got along otherwise. We just had came to head in those types of...
So there was no clash over what you would record or what kind of music you were singing, etc.?
No.
None of that?
No creative issues whatsoever. And they were gracious enough to allow me a very wide palette to, you know, put colors onto.
He saw himself as an artist, not a product. The idea that his music could be held back, manipulated, or timed by executives was unbearable to him. The more the label tried to slow him down, the more frustrated he became. It wasn't just about putting out albums, it was about control. Prince felt that Warner Brothers was treating his art as a commodity, something to be packaged and sold on their terms, not his. In response, Prince started doing something unexpected. He changed his name to a symbol, an unpronounceable glyph that blended the male and female symbols, something that no one could easily say or even print.
You would admit yourself an unusual personality.
Depends.
I mean, well, let's say you're different.
As compared to what?
As compared to most people in, let's say, show business, you're an unusual person. Most people don't get famous with one name and then change it, right? Would you say? What's the story of that, by the way?
Well, I had searched deep within my heart and spirit, and I wanted to make a change and move to a new plateau in my life. And one of the ways in which I did that was to change my name. It sort of divorced me from the past and all the hang-ups that go along with it. I was, as it's been well chronicled, in deep dispute with my record label.
He became the artist formerly known as Prince. This move wasn't just a gimmick, it was a statement. By shedding the name Prince, he was, in a way, shedding the identity Warner Brothers owned. He still owed them albums under the name Prince, but by adopting this new identity, he was showing the world he was breaking free from their control, even if it was just symbolically. It was a bold, daring move, but it was just the beginning of his rebellion. The story behind Prince's dramatic move goes back to his early days with Warner Brothers Records, the label that signed him when he was just a teenager. Prince wasn't just another artist in their catalog, he was a prodigy who could play multiple instruments and brought a unique mix of funk, rock, and soul to the table. He had a vision and the talent to make it happen, but there was one problem. Warner Brothers wanted to control that vision, and they had a powerful weapon to do it: his contract. By the mid-1990s, Prince's relentless protest had finally gained enough attention that Warner Brothers had no choice but to respond. They agreed to let him out of his contract, giving him the freedom he had been fighting for all along. It was a huge victory, not just for Prince, but for artists everywhere. He had proven that an artist's work should belong to the artist, and that no contract, no matter how powerful, could contain true creative expression.
Some people find it odd that when we win anything in this game, we give praise back unto God. Well, in somebody else's game, any triumph makes us feel blessed. When it's your game, you make the rules, everything comes easy. All your friends are in key positions, so when you decide you don't want to play anymore, you never leave empty-handed. Can somebody say golden parachute? Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. You're the most talented on earth, and you are still grateful. That is why upon winning in their game, you always thank God. Tonight I would like to ask one favor of you. Imagine what we'll all be like in our own game. Peace and love for one another.
Once free, Prince reclaimed his name and returned to doing what he did best, making music on his terms. His battle with Warner Brothers became a defining moment in his career, not just for the music he made, but for what it symbolized. He had stood up to a giant corporation and won, becoming a symbol of artistic freedom for generations to come. The word slave may have shocked the world, but it told a deeper story about what it means to be an artist in a world that often treats creativity like a business transaction. Prince's fight was never just about money or fame, it was about ownership of his identity, his art, and his legacy. In the end, he showed the world that no one could truly own him. He remained, as he always had been, an artist in the truest sense of the word, uncompromising, bold, and free.